Hello and welcome to Science Stories with Mrs. C. Today I'll be reading a text titled If an Egg Hatches and Other Animal Predictions. The author, or the person who wrote the words in this book, is named Blake Hona. There's not an illustrator listed because this is a nonfiction text, so it has real photographs of real animals. Before we begin reading, let's look at some of the vocabulary words that you are going to hear while I read this book. If an egg hatches and other animal predictions. Here are 6 vocabulary words that maybe you've heard before, but you're not too sure what they mean, or maybe you've never heard them before at all. Our first word is predict. To predict means to guess what will happen. Now, when we predict, we want to make sure our guess is an educated guess, or we're basing it on things that we might already know. We don't want to just come up with a wild guess, something that probably won't occur. We want to take all of the data and all of the information we're already familiar with and make a guess based on that information that we think may happen. Our next word is mammal. A mammal is a warm-blooded animal who produces milk for their young. So here's a picture of a bobcat, and she's nursing or feeding her babies milk. Our next word is amphibian. An amphibian is a cold-blooded animal who can live in the water and on land. Oftentimes, amphibians are confused or mixed up with reptiles, but they're very different animals. Amphibians are born with gills. They have thin, moist skin. They lay jelly-like eggs, and most undergo metamorphosis or a big change from the time they're a baby until the time they're adults. I'm not going to read all of these other differences, but if you'd like to, you can pause this video and read over them yourself. Our next vocabulary word is camouflage. Camouflage is used to disguise the appearance or how you look in order to blend in with your surroundings. Here's a really great example of camouflage. Look at that owl. It blends in so wonderfully with the bark of that tree. It's because of the feathers, the coloring, the pattern. All of the feathers look a lot like the tree bark. That way it can blend in. It can hide, so it can sneak up and capture its prey or the animals it wants to eat. And it can hide from predators or other animals that might want to eat it. So camouflage is really, really helpful. Our next vocabulary word is migrate. Migrate means to move from one place to another. Oftentimes, when we think of migration, we think of birds. So these are geese from Canada. When it gets cold, 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 and super snowy, they like to migrate further south so they can stay warmer and find more food. Some animals migrate every year. Our last vocabulary word is hibernate. Hibernate means to spend winter in a deep sleep to survive low temperatures and also to survive when there's not a lot of food around, right? When it gets snowy and cold, plants aren't growing as much, and so there's not as much food to go around for animals. A lot of times we think about bears when we think of hibernation, but a lot of smaller animals like small rodents, they hibernate during the winter as well. All right, so those are our vocabulary words. You're probably going to hear some other words in this text as well, but now you'll be familiar with those 6 and it'll help you understand what the book is explaining. All right, if an egg hatches and other animal predictions. Some animals swing in the trees, others fly or burrow in the earth. Each animal is amazing, but they all follow the laws of nature. Watch closely and you can predict what animals would do. Want to give it a try? Baby animals enter the world in different ways. Dogs, cats, cows, bats, and other mammals give birth to live babies. They feed those babies milk. Other animals lay eggs. When an egg hatches, what kind of animal might you find? A baby bird like a chick might pop out of an egg, or you could see a reptile like a snake or a turtle crawl out. Even insects and amphibians hatch from eggs. Playing hide and seek with a chameleon would be tricky. This lizard's skin can match the colors around it. Next to leaves, a chameleon turns green. It turns brown next to branches. What color do you think a desert chameleon would be? What does the desert look like? Next to rocks and sand, chameleons turn brown, gray, or tan. Camouflage helps chameleons hide from predators and hunt for prey, just like that picture of the owl we looked at. Dolphins are mammals. They live in the ocean like fish, but they don't have gills. They breathe with lungs like people do. A dolphin can hold its breath for a long time. So, because a dolphin is a mammal, it feeds its babies milk as well. But what does a dolphin do when it needs to breathe air? They poke their heads out of the water. A dolphin can breathe using the blowhole on top of its head. So right here you can see this water spraying out. It's spraying out of the blowhole so it can breathe. That way, even when most of a dolphin's body is underwater, a dolphin can still breathe air. All summer long, Canada geese live in northern North America. They paddle around lakes and ponds eating plants and bugs. Autumn, remember that's another word for fall, brings cool weather. Soon the lakes and ponds will be covered in ice. What will the geese do? They will migrate or fly south where it's warm. So they're moving. They're making a big move, right? Canada geese migrate to places where they can find food. The geese fly north again in the spring when the weather warms back up. So they move further south, and then when it warms back up, they move further north again. A deer's hooves help it speed through the woods and grasslands. Hunting tigers slip quietly through the jungle on soft padded paws. River otters spend most of their time in water. What kind of feet do you think otters have? So not hooves, not paws. River otters have wide, webbed feet. Just like swimming flippers, webbed feet help otters move quickly through water. Mice and other rodents have long tails and big teeth. In fact, a mouse's front teeth never stop growing. But if the mouse's teeth get too long, it can't open its mouth to eat. What could a mouse do to keep its teeth trimmed? Make a prediction about that. What do you think a mouse could do? They chew. Mice nibble, gnaw, and chew through wood, cloth, and plastic. They can even chew through some kinds of metal. All that chewing keeps the rodent's teeth the perfect size. So as they're chewing on those hard materials, especially like metals, it's wearing their teeth down. It's making their teeth actually rub down and get smaller. That way when they keep growing, they won't grow too long. Fish use their fins to dart and swim through the ocean. Shrimp have lots of little legs to scuttle on the ocean floor. But what about jellyfish? These animals have no legs, no fins, no bones, and no muscles. How does a jellyfish get around? A jellyfish's bell-shaped body opens to let water in. When the jellyfish squeezes its body, the water shoots out again. The moving water pushes the jellyfish where it needs to go. During the summer, an Arctic fox creeps through the brown tundra. These foxes hunt Arctic rabbits. The fox's brown fur helps them sneak up close. But what happens when snow turns the tundra white? What will you predict will happen? What will that fox look like? In the winter, an Arctic fox's coat, so it doesn't mean a jacket, it means its fur coat, right? Turns white. Lucky for Arctic rabbits, their fur turns white in winter too. A brown bear has a mighty hungry belly. After all, it takes a lot of food to fill up a bear. In the winter, there are no berries, leaves, bugs, or fish for the bear to eat. What could it do to survive? In the winter, bears hibernate. Shh, remember that sleeping, a deep sleep. They find a safe, warm place to rest until spring. Hibernating saves energy, so bears don't need to search for food. A plant's leaves soak up sunlight, turning it into the energy the plant needs to grow. Then along hops a grasshopper nibbling on the plant. A garter snake slithers by and gobbles up the grasshopper. What do you think happens next? The snake may be eaten by an owl, a fox, or a lynx. They are predators at the top of the food chain, and they all eat snakes. All right, so there are more pages of this book. Look, there's a page about pandas. There's a page about tadpoles. There's a page about wolves. There's a page about squirrels. And there's a glossary with more definitions to some of those vocabulary words you might not be familiar with. So I'm not going to finish this book today, but if you want to finish it at home, you could check it out from your local library. Remember, the title or the name is If an Egg Hatches and Other Animal Predictions, and the author is Blake Honia. So you want to look for that author's name or this title when you're trying to find this book at your local library. All right, guys, I hope you feel like you learned a lot of new science vocabulary words, a lot of new information about animals, and I hope you enjoyed our story today. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.